Thank you so much. So, last week we were reading through psychic education, and I will just start with that. With psychic education and spiritual education, and yeah, so we were on these points. We had taken these points. So, and what I remember, please correct me if there's any, if I'm forgetting. This is the one that we had taken last time, like the last one, and we were supposed to go further. Now, Monica, do you think we should start from the beginning once for some overlap, or should I
Yeah,
take?
yeah, that would be
Huh?
nice. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to give some basic introduction to these points before we take them again?
Yeah, so for me, I think these have been given by the mother, the points of, since we all hear about the psychic being again and again with the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and all of us want to get in touch with the psychic being as fast as we can. And I think then mother has pointed out in psychic education that if you really want to be in touch with the psychic, then these are the points that you cannot escape. You have to walk this path. So I think just this just becomes very practical for us. And for me, they have been really like good pointers. Like if I have to realign and align myself, I use these points. And yeah, that's what. And I think the other thing is that we can't bypass these points in the sense that if we still keep on judging, like the first point mother says that mind is incapable of judging spiritual things, and to proceed on the path it's absolutely indispensable to abstain from all mental opinion and reaction. So if we continue to keep judging and living by our limited ideas and beliefs, we cannot really be living from the psychic being. So if our inspiration now is set right, that yes, I want to walk the path of psychic being, I want to live by the psychic, not by the ego consciousness, then I think these points are just like, I don't know, we don't have to go anywhere but these points. So that's what is coming to me. Yeah.
I do have a question, and I just want your opinion on that. Some like the first time I heard them, and again, I think every time almost, what all is asked of us here, it seems like, oh, not possible, because it seems like, okay, I am so far, like, because, the words that I used are pretty strong, right? That if and it is the truth that we have to, and yet somehow, how it says this, and I think the way the words are to make sure that we understand that the severity of the situation and to understand how important it is, and yet sometimes it can also just dissociate, right? That no, too far, too much. So how do you approach that? Like when you, because I know you're personally very close to these.
I think how do you approach is that if I have suffered enough, if I'm convinced that ego consciousness is not the path forward, I think really there is no point that I can fall in, that want to at least fall in the trap again and again. So if there is a strong will inside, if there is a conviction inside that I have done harm to myself and others by living through ego consciousness, and I would like to now really find out what am I really born for, and what is the right way and attitude to live. I think with that conviction, it's impossible to keep falling off the track again and again and again. I mean, we keep slipping down the slippery slopes in our ego consciousness, yes, but then I would not do it willfully. It just happens because I'm used to, And since there is a central will that has been made that yes, now I want to find the psychic. So I think without that central will, as mother says, that this yoga can't be imposed on anyone. All of us are here today because we want to be us, here today, and we want to be spending this time understanding what is the right way to live, what mother has said. So I think if that central will is there, then it's just a matter of time that we get in alignment again and again. Yeah. But again, the will has to be mine. I must have suffered enough. So for me, I have suffered enough, and now, it's enough of suffering for me and others. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, anybody who feels ready, if they can, read the 4 points that we had taken last time, and in case, of course, there's any reflections, we'll be very happy to take them. So, starting from the first and perhaps the most important point. Thank you.
Yes. The incarnate word. The first and perhaps the most important point is that the mind is incapable of judging spiritual things. All those who have written on this subject have said so, but very few are those who have put it into practice. And yet, in order to proceed on the path, it is absolutely indispensable to abstain from all mental opinion and reaction. Give up all personal seeking for comfort, satisfaction, enjoyment, or happiness. Be only a burning fire for progress. Take whatever comes to you as an aid to your progress and immediately make whatever progress is required. Try to take pleasure in all you do, but never do anything for the sake of pleasure. Never get excited, nervous, or agitated. Remain perfectly calm in the face of all circumstances, and yet be always alert to discover what progress you still have to make and lose no time in making it.
Yeah, thank you, Jagan. So, in case anything, if anybody would want to comment, we had taken these last time and we just wanted to read them again. Okay, so we'll move on. So the next point, let's take one at a time. And if anybody wants to read this for us, that would be great.
Okay, I will never take physical happenings at their face value. They are a clumsy attempt to express something else, the true thing which escapes our superficial understanding.
Yes, thank you, Ashish. This we can very easily observe, if we actually just pay attention to the things that have happened, the circumstances in our life, when we look back, the periods which we call as, hard or painful or traumatic, it was then that that shift happened. It was then that there was something in me which expanded, that became a bit more. Otherwise, leaving me to my ways, I would not want to change. The affinity towards patterns, habits, comfort is such a strong one that unless I'm shaken and beaten, I don't give up easy. I think last time, like Ritu had reminded us about, we being, that pain is the hammer of God. I think that was last week, and how, we very, I don't know, sadly or happily say that, we are dog's tails and we just keep, it keeps getting bent again and again. But just knowing this, from the mother again, very straightforward, strong. That's the beauty of these, points, that never take physical happenings at their face value. They're always a clumsy attempt to express something else, the true thing which escapes our superficial understanding. So, there are times when you're feeling the pain, or you're going through something, and yet if you connect within, there is something in me that knows that it's feeling like this, and yet I know that there is more to it, and it's good for me. It's good for me, and it could sound just play of words, and it's not, because there is something in us that knows that it's taking me to some place where I should be heading to, rather than giving in to my desires all the time. So, yes, please, opening again for reflections, if any.
Also, what's coming to me is that, just adding on to what you have shared, that regarding physical happenings, we always have opinions, that this is how it should happen. And if this is happening not this way, then something is wrong, or then I become really anxious. So I think these 3 points, this one, the other one, and before it, all these three are really interconnected, I feel. Starting from never take pleasure. Try to take pleasure in all you do, but never do anything for the sake of pleasure. So this too also, that we think that our transactional worldly mind is always wanting to use the world, people and situations as a means to bring me happiness. So if it's a job, it must bring me happiness. If it's a relationship, it must bring me happiness. If it's my children, they must bring me happiness. And when they fail to do so, they fail to live by my rigid ideas and opinions, then I suffer, then I become disappointed. That, see, what I thought of my children and what they have become, or, what I thought of this job and what has it given me. It is sucking more than giving me, or something like that, or a relationship. So I think, first of all, I see the need of a disenchantment from the worldly things, knowing that the world will not live by my rigidities, and hence I cannot depend upon anything in the world to bring me that satisfaction that I am deeply, deeply wanting, that each one of us is deeply wanting. So we start also in Buddhism, we start with disenchantment, that knowing that the world will not bring me fulfillment that I am seeking. It may bring some comfort, some satisfaction, but it's not that ultimate fulfillment. And I think that's what is cause of our addictions, most of our addictions. Because the moment my satisfaction ends, I want it again. Because it's too temporary, fleeting. Then I want it again. Then I want it again. And then we become obsessed either by relationship, money, power, or anything. And it's like an endless cycle of running after things, that if I am not there, then I can't be happy, that thing. And then same, the second point is also, I feel, connected, because if I don't get what is my in alignment with my rigidity and ideas, that this is how I'm going to get it, then I get excited, nervous, agitated. When I am like I'm supposed to get it, then I become excited. When I don't get it, then I become agitated, or nervous, whether I should get it or whether I'll not get it. And only then, only when I am really truly disenchanted, that yes, now I am convinced that what I am looking, the ultimate fulfillment, is not in these things that I am running after, only then can I remain perfectly calm in the face of all situations, because I know that situations are situations, but fulfillment is not going to come through situations. As mother says, that fulfillment is going to come from somewhere else that we have to look at. And then anything and everything can become a path for progress, that okay, let me learn from this situation. Okay, what is this situation trying to tell me? Oh, I was too rigid with my opinions. Maybe I can step back. Maybe I was just trying to fix and control this person. Maybe that's not needed. Maybe I can step back. And then, the physical happenings that we were sharing, that as mother says at several, I think we can actually, just this line, we can add on many, many anecdotes from the mother and Sri Aurobindo themselves to just accentuate on this uh, third line, never take physical happenings at their face value. They are always a clumsy attempt to express something else, the true thing which escapes our superficial understanding. So, again, in the lines that whatever is happening right now, if I can have the best possible attitude in that situation, I think that's where our joy lies. The joy is not in getting something out there, but the joy is making progress through whatever is happening. And this reminds me of one incident where, a sadhak told Sri Aurobindo he had, I think, an accident in his leg. And then he came to Sri Aurobindo, and Sri Aurobindo, maybe a little disappointed, like, why would this happen since I have the protection? And Sri Aurobindo said that you have no idea, I'm not just rephrasing, you have no idea that you have been actually, what could have happened, it has happened just this much since you are, on the path, and now just you are saved from rest of the trouble. So we don't know how grateful, how lucky, how blessed we already are. And because of the right attitude, many things just touch us and then they just pass on. And still we can keep cribbing on why did it touch me. So it just depends on our attitude. Yeah. So that was coming to my mind.
Yeah, thank you. Now, there used to be a joke, which was a joke at least when I heard it, but it goes, I think, a bit further that once a guy got shot between the eyes, and there was, everybody was like, oh my God, what has happened? But there was one person who was very positive, and he said, thank God his eyes were saved. But no, he's dead, and shot is between his eyes, and there's somebody who's wanting to be always grateful. So he's just grateful that his eyes didn't get hurt. So the one who wants to see that there is bigger, things that are deeper than this, even though, again and again, it's a good reminder that it's not that the person who wants to be grateful just sees this right away, but there is this faith that it must be because there's no other way, right? Because say, we talk about, like mother being mother. And how can a mother harm, right? If something, even if I have to give my child a tight slap, I would feel that this is for something bigger, right? Like there has to be, there's something that has to lead to somewhere. I would just not go and just say thrap, say just for the fun of it. So just having that certitude, and that also reminds me, because this is something, if we get it into our system, I think our approach towards life changes. And there was this beautiful story about Ramakrishna, that Ramakrishna, along with a few of his disciples, were on a river in a boat, and suddenly there was a storm, and it was pretty bad, and it felt as if the boat would turn over, and people were getting scared, and the winds were pretty loud. So that one of the disciples just saw Ramakrishna sitting very peacefully again with a smile, and he went to him and said, "Are you not scared?" So Ramakrishna just looked at him, and after a minute, when the disciple got distracted, he just held his neck. He just grabbed his neck and started choking him, the disciple. So Ramakrishna then asked him that the disciple started laughing. So he asked that, "Are you not scared?" And he was like that, "Aap mera kya karoge? How will you harm me?" And Ramakrishna said the same thing, "Why will Ma harm me?" So it's just, no matter what's happening, if my certainty is there that why, what is it teaching me? Not that, oh my God, what am I going through? And it's hard, it's hard when you're going through to keep that, just, that vision that no, it has to lead me somewhere, it has to lead me somewhere, because sometimes things just feel too much, and yet going through that feeling, I know I'm feeling sad, I know I'm feeling depressed, I know I'm feeling, I don't know, lonely, and yet knowing that, having that certitude, but it's taking me towards, I don't know, deeper depths or wider heights. It keeps you going, right? Like you're just thankful that, it's paining. And I'm so thankful for this pain, because I know this is in love. This is in love. This is in love. Yeah.
So I think also, just to kind of add to that thought, there is also a belief or an expectation that experiences tend to be, well, let me put it the other way around, that it's a temporary phase, right? I mean, if it is pain, then that pain will go away sometime. If it is pleasure, then that pleasure will end at some time. But we get overwhelmed because of the sensory engagement, and we tend to associate that experience becomes permanent. Either we long for it or we wish for it to go away. And that drives our reaction during and post that experience. So either we indulge and then we regret, or we regret and then we indulge. So, yeah. Thanks.
In Buddhism, these have been called, what you just shared, have been called the 8 worldly concerns in which we remain trapped. So, what you just shared, that to run towards pleasure, to run away from pain, to run towards gain, to run away from loss, to run towards happiness, and to run away from suffering. And this is why we forever, and this is what they call like the wheel of sansaric mind, that if only we can transcend this mind of dualities, which is always wanting one thing and not wanting the other thing, attraction or aversion, and we are just round and round and round and round. If we see our movements, we are just trapped there. And that's why Saint Kabir has written, many couplets where he says that this wheel is going round and round and I'm just laughing, what are you up to? He can laugh, but we cry mostly.
Yeah, a good reminder. And it feels very real, right? Like when it's happening, it's hard to tell yourself that, oh, it will be over soon, or it will be over soon. I mean, you say it, and yet it's there, it's there, it's there. So just to remind yourself, this too shall pass, knowing. I remember, from this, there was a video from Thich Nhat Hanh, and he was asked that what is the worst thing, right, that you have experienced or one can experience? What is the hardest thing? And he had said that, a situation like, a despair which seems to have no end. Because, like Ashish was sharing, that when we know there is an end, it's easy, right? It's, but he was, referring to his war in Vietnam, that people would come to him and ask him that, hi, would the war ever end? And he said, I really didn't know, because, there seemed to be no end to it. And yet, he said that, dear Sangha, because Buddha said that everything is temporary. So this war must be temporary. So that gave us hope, right? Because otherwise, factually, practically seeing the fact, there was no hope. Like it didn't seem it would ever end. And I think so is true for most wars, right? They are not, even say a freedom struggle. Like it wasn't over until it was over. Like, it just comes as a miracle that, oh, it's happened. Because until it happened, it feels that it can, is it happening? It's not. It didn't. So yeah, just not to over go into this, but yeah, just
I think these two things really, really help a lot. First, what was shared earlier, that to have hope that since everything is impermanent. This is also fleeting, whatever. So either I am going through happiness, fleeting. If I'm going through some, disappointment, depression, just telling myself that this too shall pass. I think this really, really, I think moves us forward and gives us some grounding. I've felt that grounding, many a times. The other thing is that I remember there used to be, I came across poems by a friend, and somehow in every poem, one thing was very common. And she must have written them, when she was quite like in the early growing up years, like teenage, or, when one is trying to make sense of the world. In each prayer, one thing was so alive for me that it was like, this thing, I don't get it, but I know I will get it. I know there is a larger plan. I know that there is something somewhere watching over me, although I can't see it, I can't feel it. So I think that certitude, that unshakable faith, and most of us somewhere have that certitude. It's just like we have to dig it out, from the muck that we are mostly in. And that really, really helps. That telling myself that yes, whatever I'm going through is very hard, but I know it's serving a purpose, and very soon I'll be out of this and I will have the proper understanding that this learning, brings to me. So that really, really helps us. Yeah.
I mean, my version of that is that perhaps all of us know, but then we decide to play the game. I mean, we know that if we eat too much, then we'll fall sick, but yet we eat because we, at some level, um, that ultimate awareness is cloaked by our desire or our willingness to play the sensory game, and we keep on doing that till the time either, as you said, something drastic happens, or we get a realization that this is not the right way to do it, and that's where things start changing.
Yeah, I think if one knows that, one is consuming and there could be a chance of a stomach ache or something, even that knowing I feel is full of grace, that at least it's not the grip, you're not fully consumed by greed, right? You see greed and you're like, okay, I am not sure, and yet I'm having. So after you've done this a few times, you've done it a few times, then, or not a few times, but maybe, I don't know, hundreds of times, you do get tired if it's done in awareness, because, we are stupid, but not that stupid most of the time. Yeah. Yeah. Jagan, Ritu, anything? Yeah, sorry, Monica, please.
Just as Kabir ji has said, दौड़त दौड़त भाग दौड़िया जहाँ लगी मन की दौड़ थके मन स्थिर भया. So I think I keep coming back to this couplet again and again, because without running enough, as was shared, that without running enough through for my sensory fulfillments, I just am not convinced. I just am not convinced. I just am not convinced. So, like, if it's my experience as a parent that, okay, I have ran enough and there is no point running now, like glitter towards everything that is glittery. Now maybe I can turn towards really something that is really important. Now the thing is that I cannot give this to my children, that, oh, since I have ran enough, you don't run. So each one is to have their own experience of running. I think that's the beauty. And as mothers shares in prayers and meditations, that all these innumerable experiences are very important, because that is how we get convinced. So I think each one has to just travel their own path of first running in whatever direction comes natural to our inclinations, and then to realize that, okay, now maybe I can stop running there and maybe attend to something which is calling to me. But without running, this conviction doesn't come. Yeah.
Um, ma'am, as I keep on listening to these study circles, and I think of, we discuss about so many different topics. And when I ask, in my mind, when I ask, okay, so what is the solution for this mother? And the only answer I'm getting, even so far, is she just tells me that, leave it to me and just believe in me and leave it to me. And um, that like Monica ma'am was saying, everybody, at some point, most of us realize that, but um, the progress, in fully believing in her is why I think, why I feel, listening to all you people is necessary. Yeah, that's all I want to share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Jagan. I mean, do then leave every time, right? Like that offering also has to have an active component because we keep forgetting, right? It's just that, oh, when I'm feeling down or when something has happened, then I remember, oh, leave it to me. But before even doing, when I have to first offer that, I'm doing this and I'm leaving this to you, or, then it again changes. It again changes. And there's something that, I've been observing, and basically after Ashish's sharing, I was prompted again to remember it, that when something happens, or, when you're feeling something, like there's some sensations and stuff, or you're feeling, I don't know, greed, or when you're feeling low, then the sensory stimulations are activated, right? Okay, let me eat something, or let me, have some alcohol, let me just, give it some rhythm, give it some jazz, let me go and shop, it will cure my thinking feeling. So like, then we indulge, and then it just gets postponed. It just gets postponed. That every time I'm feeling that, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? Please, please tell me. Then something in me wants to distract myself and not look at it. And unless I look at it, it's not very comfortable looking at, your inner movements and stuff. But unless I do that, there's still progress, but it's very, very, very slow. So when I stop saying no to those distractions, again, sensory distractions, ki movie dekh lo, go out with friends, go to the mall for shopping, for each his own, whatever it would be. Yeah, because they're just temporary fixes. We have to, and we must, whenever possible. There are times when it's not possible, you give in, and that's also all right. But knowing that, okay, I'm giving it again. So again, you are registering that you couldn't do it and maybe next time. But it's always that they're just waiting to come, that, okay, now that, there is, you're down, you're low, something is happening, let me overtake, let me rule. And yeah, if we are open to, yeah. Yes, Ritu.
Yeah, on this, I'm just reminded an aunt of mine. She last year lost her husband, and now then she felt very lonely, and then she went into depression, and then her family members and all, they helped her by telling her that you have to now look good, go to beauty parlors, meet friends, go out for lunch, dinner, holiday, shopping. So now she had come over to my place the last week. So she said now she's feeling so much better because her friends helped her to get out of depression, because now she socializes so much more. She enjoys life by traveling. And so I was just wondering that actually it is like not seeing the problem or just running away from problem, or actually it's better because she was depressed for a while, so at least she doesn't feel depressed now by doing all this. So at one point, it feels that it is a bit like escapism, like you have a problem and you just close your eyes and assume that there is no problem. Let me, why look at that problem? So it's both ways, you know. In a way, it worked well for her because at least she's out of depression. At least that's what she feels. And at the same time, it feels like there came problem and it's like looking away from the problem and okay, I don't want this problem in my life, so let me not look at it.
You know, I don't know really what to say, but when one is depressed, again, you know, it's like, you know, you just keep going down, 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 down. So, you know, it's like up till a point, I would say, you know, like death of a spouse, especially if you know you are connected, like you're sharing, it's pretty hard. So if one is able to overcome that a little bit, and then, you know, it's like, I don't think it's possible fully to come out of it. And yet one can use these, you know, mediums and activities to reach to a certain point where again one is now capable to think also, right? I mean, it would be very hard to completely just, I don't know, pretend that nothing happened. Because when it hits so close to home, that's the beauty, right? You cannot ignore it anymore. You cannot say, oh, it happens to people in newspapers, it won't happen to me. So I think, yeah, it's good. Whatever you can use to just at least get to that level where you're again capable of at least reflecting or thinking what happened and what does it mean and what do I do? Because if one is very into the, you know, dumps, one cannot even do that. It just pulls you down and down and down. Yeah, please, any more further comments on this are welcome.
I know, I think like you said, to each its own. I think probably to get to some, to get out of that depression, maybe at this point, all this is important.
Yeah. And I think shows your sense. I mean, I don't know. It's like, you know, say again, say there's a story of Deepa Ma, right? Like she lost her husband and then she lost her child, or I don't know, first she lost her child and then she lost her husband and she got too much into depression. And then I am not very sure, but somebody told her that, you know, you will die like this. And if you don't want to, there's, you know, this Buddhist meditation center. It was on the first floor or something, that you would go there. And something in her pushed her to do that. And she was so weak that she could not even walk. She was crawling. And she went there. And then the conversion happened for her. You know, I guess whatever is one path and journey, that too is there. You know, the same things push people in different directions. And that's okay, right? Whatever you need to experience, whatever is left, and if it's giving her that joy, it's possibly that something she had not done before, maybe, right? That now that she's doing it, she's finding some pleasure in it, and that too needs to be lived and seen. Yeah, I think I'll stop. I it enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know that thought somehow not in a very explicit manner. Like I was talking to her and I thought that I would introduce her to some of these circles and maybe tell her that she can speak here and anything she's facing, it gives a different perspective of life. But then she said, no, 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 now I'm okay because now I'm mixing up again. I go out for kitty parties and all these things. So now I'm doing well. So that was also a good thing to see that yes, I mean we feel that we are doing well, but somehow in a way maybe we are also in that situation so many times, and then probably even we are not able to probably see that um, I mean somehow through the sessions it feels like pain and suffering are a gift, but a lot of times we just want to shoo them away, just not look at them, avoid them.
Yeah,
Chalo,
totally.
even think about it.
Mm.
Also, this book by Illusions by Richard Bach, it says that there is no such thing as a problem without a gift for you in the handle, in the hands. You see problems because you need their gifts.
Yeah. So yeah, we take time, we take, different directions. And like mother says, thine victory is certain. So, one will have to reach that point where one starts attending. But yeah, it's like even if like whatever price, how it's said you pay is not too much to get in onto the path, at least the journey has begun. On day before yesterday or sometime I was working on the poster for Harmony Circle, and this line that, not all seeds grow into trees, something like this. And expansion is just one of my possibilities. I just see it's like the way I do things. If it's happening for me that I'm at least on the path, that in itself is so much to be grateful for, because so much happens and we still get distracted. We still get distracted because there's something about the glitter which is very attractive, right? Like, and there is this perception that only when you are very sad and only when there's no hope one comes here, and as soon as one feels better one runs away. So if one is here and one is here to stay, that in itself is like so much blessing and grace, that now the glitter doesn't look go gold. Like it is glitter and you can see that glitter. It glitters, but you don't mistake it for gold anymore.
Hmm. But SME, it happens that for some smaller problems, we can see in a short span of time that yes, this problem was a gift. But for some problems, probably we will never know that it was a gift because we don't know the cause of everything, why it happens.
Yeah, it's a possibility. And yet, if we are sincere and if we look at facts, look at the way my thinking has changed, or my approach towards life has changed, or what do I take seriously now, which I never did before. But the trauma of certain events is so big that I would not like to admit to myself that, oh, I got this, because it feels that I gave up this and I got this. But we don't know what this means, right? We just see this. So that's just our perceptions and our clinging and our attachments that make us feel this was this and this was this. But if one is sincere, one realizes where that thing, what it's opening for me. So again, like it said, that I might not know, like you were sharing, right? I might not know, but still knowing in general, in the big picture, if I have this certitude that yes, it has to be towards that, because all my movements, all especially, the painful things are there to knock and wake me up, that, wake up, that you didn't come here for this.
Hmm.
Yeah, you don't look happy, you're convinced, and that's okay.
No, what I mean is like, let's say in this case, like she lost her husband, who they were very good together, always happy. So even if she turns towards a spiritual path because she went through this pain, because she questioned what is pain, what is life, and all these things, but still, is it okay? I mean, if you look at it, was it, I mean, her coming on this path a gift for her because of losing her husband? So that is a little difficult to understand, that how can it be the cost of a gift be so high?
I think this high, what Taru had just shared, that I am making this high. Like in my mind, the cost is this high. Why? Because we think that we are here as human beings to have settled relationships, to have settled spouses who are never going to go away. You know, people may die over there, but not in my family. So I am the one who is making this bigger. But actually, if you look from a spiritual point of view, the very first session that we started with was the purpose of human existence, which is growth of consciousness. Simple. Now, for growth of consciousness, either people die, wars happen, or we lose money, we lose name, respect, fame. All that is a cheap, cheap, cheap bargain. And I think Taru just shared this, like, like an image, like, I think I'm giving up this for this. Now, this seems like very little in my little mind, but I have no idea what this is that I am now walking towards. Just because this is unknown, I think that, oh, I don't want this, but I want this. Why? Because the whole society wants this. Settled families, settled spouses, nothing is going to, happen to me and my family. But we don't, and as was, you were discussing, both of you, regarding the losing of the spouse, regarding your aunt. So there also, what Taru was sharing, in another words, we are moved from our tamasic condition towards something rajasic, which is actually a good step. And I'm glad that she was pointing at exactly that if she is happy to live a life, the life that she's living right now, of parties and everything, and she thinks that, okay, it's good for me, I'm happy there, I think then you can't stop her to live that life. Maybe it's important for her to have that experience that she's having right now. Then will come a point after, either within this lifetime or some lifetimes, that as Taru shared, that doesn't appear to be shiny anymore. You have lived it. Now you can't run towards it. So living through those experiences, which even now are appearing like gold to me, but they are glitter, for me is very necessary to go close to them, for myself recognize that, oh, they were actually just glitter, they were not gold. So I can't escape these experiences. And that's why it's good that shares that even passions are preferable to dull, dark, tamasic depression. So it's good to get up from your depression, dark state, and maybe run after a couple of things, because you can't escape that understanding that will come sooner or later in future, that this will not suffice, this will not suffice. But I don't know when it will come, whether in this lifetime, whether after a couple of lifetimes. And the other thing that you were sharing, that for some things we never get to know that why they happened. I think these are the things where we are very, very tightly attached, like something really big was at stake and taken away. Now I'm left with a deep void. So I think we have to, since everything requires its own time to reveal what is the larger plan. It's just that, as you rightly said, that for some things the plan, at least a little bit of plan comes to you, in the sense that you see, oh, this thing really helped me to move towards my own self, and it's a good thing. It brought me a little bit of pain, but I would not take a u-turn. I'll still go this way. Why? Because it has brought me back together to myself. But then for some other things which appear very, very large, and as if you are giving too much for something very little, first of all, I don't know what that something little is. It's just a conception in my mind that, oh, this is very little. Why? Because it has not yet been revealed to me. It's like a sculpture making a sculptor, like a murti or deity, and the work is just half done. Now it appears ugly in the middle. So you're wondering, but I gave up, my rocky life for being this half done image. But the thing is not yet fully done. He's still working on you. He's still working on you. He's still working on you. So as was shared, earlier, that we have to give things time, and it takes a lot of time to have a complete shift in our attitude. And when that attitude, new attitude, becomes revealed in us, then slowly over years or lifetimes I become convinced that, yes, now I know that happened for some good. Now I know. So I think this is a very good place to be, that I may not know right now, but I will know in future. Things
Yeah.
will get revealed. Yeah.
But sometimes it feels, isn't it selfish on us to feel that way, that okay, that person's lost his life, but at least I'm on the path of consciousness because he lost his life. So it feels,
Yeah, why? Because losing life for me, as we
hmm,
live in society and give different priorities to different things, for me it's a very big thing, no? But in the larger game of things, actually this is not a big thing. Haven't big shots lost their lives? How do we know that what was the larger plan when they were losing their lives? Right? So I think we have to see that we are so rigidly associating that no, losing life is a big thing. No, it's not a big thing. The only big thing is growth of consciousness. So we have to set our inner alignment right. That's why we suffer, no? Because for me, losing life is like a big thing, especially when in my family someone loses life. When in my close circle someone loses life, very big thing. Why? Because we make people center of our life. We become too attached to them. We become like too dependent upon them. Our hopes are with them, that if this person is not there, what is the hope? So actually this is selfishness, that we made one person, poor guy, center of my world. And I said, you are the one responsible for taking this lineage forward. I mean, isn't this not selfishness? Isn't the guy not allowed to follow his larger plan? And now I'm suffering because the guy is gone. Why? Because my hopes were attached to him. So I think we have to slowly become very honest that it's not the loss of life. It's that because my hopes were attached to that life is why I mostly suffer. But again, I think there is also love there. And once a person is gone from our life, we just have to live with that void and the feeling of that person being with us all the time. I don't think anything can really fulfill that void. We'll
yeah.
still, yeah, have to learn to live with
And
that void.
we don't know what is larger than life. We just see life. So what happens beyond? What is the bigger picture? Since we don't see it in physical form, it's still an abstract thing for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Um, no, I would like to add something to this. Um, you know, we tell that anytime we face a problem, we say that, if someone tells you, oh, what is your problem? And we tell them, step into my shoes and see what I'm going through and try to understand. But when we are totally depressed from our own problems, I find that we ourselves step out of our own shoes. And then, at least what I've noticed is we try to find answers in other things, especially materialistic things. And God somehow, at least to me, is the last option. Like, when everything doesn't, like nothing helps me, that's when I go and, I just kneel down and say, I'm so sorry. What am I supposed to do right now? So, you know, the biggest question that anyone can ask when someone is depressed is themselves. And I find that, let's say I am depressed and I'm playing a guitar, or I'm going trekking, or someone is drinking, someone is doing something else. They're trying to ask it that, okay, are you the answer to my problem? Are you the answer to my problem? And somehow they don't get the answers. But when they go home and when they are trying to sleep, then their mind and their soul asks them, okay, what is the answer? And they don't have the answer because they are looking for the answer somewhere else. um, so what I would think is the right answer is to look within oneself. Although I'm saying this, I'm pretty sure if I'm in a problem next time, I will look for materialistic things because I'm still in the process of learning. But yeah, like, most answers I find that are within ourselves. And those just uh, God is something that doesn't come to at least my mind. He's not the first one to come to my mind when I'm in trouble or when I'm depressed. I look for other places for an answer. But I think that he or she, mother or Sri Aurobindo or any other god one believes in, I think they should come in first. And I think for that, like I was saying in the beginning of this session, is that um, having that level of surrender is also important. And if anyone can add to this and share some feedback on how to progress to that level, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you've answered kind of your own question, because you did say that, first I try everywhere and then I go there. First I try everywhere and then I go there. You see how it works, right? So once you see it enough that, okay, कहीं और से होता नहीं है, मैं कोशिश तो करता हूँ. So then I think again, if somebody would tell you that no, go directly, you will not listen, because you have to, you're still not convinced that I will not get it from anywhere. You have a doubt, right? You see that, okay, yes, I have not got from most places, but maybe. So till that maybe is there, it's better to go and, घाट घाट का पानी जिसे कहते हैं, और पी लेना चाहिए. Otherwise वो रह जाता है कि अरे वहां से मिल जाता. Because, again, this is the path of, a sadhak. And, they say that the sadhak's life is also one of the hardest thing, right? Because he has to be in guard every second. In Upanishad, it said that the sadhak faces the maximum number of defeats in his life. Because, his battle is every second. Was he vigilant? Has he looked at the big picture? What did he cling? Did he grasp? Oh, he lost it again. So, to have so much courage, how Kabir says Surma, Sri Aurobindo says the Aryan. So it's just the answer again you have, and once you'll see more, you yourself will have to reach that point, because these things, they don't come like that. I said अच्छा अच्छा नहीं अब नहीं करो वहीं जाना, तो आप बोलोगे हाँ हाँ मैं वहीं जाऊंगा. It doesn't kind of work that way. Yeah.
Like, it's like this, ma'am. So, like, kids know that eating too many is bad for the teeth, and they'll say this. They'll tell their friends, you should not eat chocolates because it's bad for your teeth. That's what my mom said. But the moment they find sweets, at that very moment, they don't think twice about it. They just grab it and eat it. That's the thing is, answers are always there when the mind is calm. But when things like depression hit, people lose balance, and that's when they stop thinking. And I was only asking like that. My question was that, um, like, everyone is progressing, but is there any way that, um, is there any um, more concrete way in making that progress, in having that faith and having that second thought before choosing anything that is maybe not good in the long run?
I don't know. I just share, remembering from my childhood, like my mom kept saying, obviously, like all mothers say that don't eat, especially chewing gums and all. And I remember the first time, then I was taken to a dentist, I had like 5 cavities. And boy, did it pain, right? Like when they were doing that drill thing. I still remember that, like now I'm talking, I'm sitting on that table where that dentist shop was. And then my mother didn't have to say, after that, if I would eat a chocolate, I'll go and, I'll rinse and stuff. And I'll think, I'll be reminded of that pain. And I remember I still started eating, chewing gum. And then all my fillings came out, because earlier on the fillings used to be, those metallic fillings. So till date, and then again my cavities had to be filled. So till date, I have not been able to eat chewing gums now. Just sharing, because when you don't listen, then life teaches you. Then you have to be prepared for a bigger blow. That ठीक है ऐसे सीखेगा, अच्छा ऐसे सीखेगा. Because सिखाना तो है, somebody up there is so kind and so compassionate that till I learn, they will not give up on me. So baki practices, so Jagan, there are so many, right? Aspire more, offer more. But those are just words, right? Till I am ready to fully just live them. And we are being led, right? We are being led there. And if we are just, I think the only thing we can do, not the only, a very big thing is just to be more in fact, right? To just see, okay, this is leading me this. This is how it happened. This is how the process is. Like, do I still want to do this? Okay, fine, I'll still do it. Let me see again. So, but if I'm living in facts rather than just emotions and victim identity or guilt consciousness and stuff, then it's easier, right? If I, like you said, that she says that just leave it to me, but then am I leaving it to her? Again, how consciously am I leaving it to her? That also helps.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember in one of the talks, Rupert Spira was sharing, so he was attending to um, couple of audiences, and he said that if anything on the earth is more interesting to you, is more appealing to you right now, that you should rather be there than here, then you should actually be there.
Mm.
So that's the thing, that whatever moves us, whatever we feel is important right now for me to attend, we must attend to that. Yeah, and then that would show or reveal the path.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashish, for joining us. Yeah, I hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, Ritu, do want to say one thing, how you were saying that just because we see material, right? Like we are material, kind of, we see physical, and physical is a lot to us. And yet, when something like this happens, that a person disappears, just this opening and just this question that, is it not all physical? Is there more? He's not there in front of me, and yet I do feel him. This also opens, like, this is a huge window to open to see that, okay, gone, right? The shock of it is something else. And yet the realization that now I know that I too, am standing in the same queue. And what am I doing? Those questions in itself are a huge gift to think, so that, this lifetime is not going to waste, this lifetime is not going to waste. Everybody is here for a purpose, for a reason. When somebody leaves, suddenly you're shocked. And then you're moved, and then you start wondering that, oh my God, they are not kidding. People really die, kind of hit home now. So those questions, to opening up to those questions also is a blessing from the universe, that wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. We all have to go. Do what you have to do, try to connect, see what needs to be done. So you cannot just discount that, oh, I'm just material and I just know material. But now if there's an opening that there are things beyond material, that too is a big thing. It's already, yes, Ritu, please.
Yeah, but apparently we don't know. Yes, we know there is death, and we do know that there is something after death. But then we are not certain that, yes, that moving on after dying was for was towards a specific goal. It was towards something positive. That person had a journey, and that person's moving on that journey. So these are our assumptions.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm saying that the question is that we are not permanently here, right? looks at that too, right? That he left and I will be leaving too, and it could be any moment. And what am I doing to prepare myself for that? For the person, I can pray. For the person, I can do certain practices that I feel would give him peace. That is there. That has happened. It's done. But I am not yet done, right? I have to also, we cannot end that, okay, one person went, he left his body and he's gone. We have to then move to it, and I will go too. And what am I doing for that? Because that's where the happening is taking me, right? Because if I'm just saying that, oh, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, and that's it, and then I'm dead, then the opportunity that was given to me that, this is real, you will die, this is just a dream, wake up, how they say in Upanishad, Vedas, and you're so familiar with it, taking that seriously too. I cannot avoid that. I must not avoid that. I must be present to those questions. And what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing?
I think on this, that it's an assumption that the life is still continuing after we drop the body dead. I think we have to just check it there, because we are already living one another assumption. We think that's not an assumption, that's truth. And this is an assumption that life continues after death. What is my current assumption? That life is not continuing after that. That's also my assumption. But I take this as more reality and that as assumption. So, a couple of days ago, I was working with one of my friends, and she had issues with a relationship, like with her mother. Now, with her mother, it's like a kind of a toxic kind of a relation, that it's like a too attached relationship. That first of all, the mother doesn't respect anyone. She's like in her own world, and yet the person was saying that I just always feel very anxious for her, that what if she drops dead at time, at any time, or she's living all by herself, what if something happens to her, what if I say something which hurts her, like that. So lots of anxiety regarding her mother. So what we were doing were that we were writing affirmations, and I said that any negative thought full of anxiety and fear, the moment you become conscious of that thought, you transmute it in saying that no, I know that my mother is taken care of, just like I am taken care of. And we are writing these lines. Now, when she was writing these lines, since it was the first time that she was doing this practice, it appeared like as if I'm faking myself, I'm fooling myself. So I just brought her attention to the fact that you believe that what you have been feeding your mind so far is not an assumption or an affirmation, but truth, which is something will happen to the mother, and maybe I hurt my mother, all that loop going on in the head. But we don't realize that that's also an affirmation which I have been repeating in my head. And this is also an affirmation which I am writing right now, on the paper. So what do I want to create in my life? Earlier, that has been the default way, which I think is concrete and real. But the thing is that what you were sharing, that isn't that an assumption that life continues after death? Because I don't know what happens after that. So it's an assumption. Now the thing is that the very fact that you say that life ends after death is also an assumption. It's just an assumption which comes more naturally to me, because we live by the senses, and to those people who live by the senses, there also we will see that it's not true. Tignath Han shares that I can't go anywhere. Why? Because even if when I am physical body, say the person was a physical body, now the energy is just changing its form. Earlier it felt like this body, now it has turned to ash. The ash is just dispersed everywhere around you. You're breathing that ash. It's depositing on your cupboards. You're cleaning that ash. So where is the person gone? The person still physically speaking also The thing has just changed forms. It has not completely gone. It can never, ever, ever go. So I think we have to see that either we take it from the spiritual point of view or we take it from the matter point of view. We are not going anywhere. And that's why Sri Aurobindo says, I am here, I am here. You know, Nirod Baran's book on Sri Aurobindo.
Yes, Shaban.
I think it may be just by
Okay.
mistake. Yeah.
I'm sorry about the noise.
Yeah, Ritu, please, you want to say something?
Yes, but it's difficult to comprehend actually. I mean, we will become ash, but then we right now relate only to this form of ourselves. So obviously, I mean, 100% we'll all be turning into ash and there'll be just a change in form. But then the change in form, like if we imagine it for some us, for our own self or somebody very close to us. So when he was in that form, that's what we relate to. That was ours. But when that person is in the form of ash, or that ash is cleaned, or that ash is in water, or that ash is in air, that is something we cannot relate to.
Because we are not used to relate like that. It's just a matter of habit, actually, if we see. Just a matter. Some people are really good at feeling,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they suffer much less, I feel, in the sense that if there is a physical person who is my friend or relative or anyone, if I can feel them in my heart, which is at my will anytime. Okay, you want me to feel in my heart? Okay, here I am. The person is in my heart. It's a very good practice, I feel, through to know that we are always, always, always interconnected.
Mm.
It's only because we are too attached to physical forms. Now it is, I can't just discount it, that, oh, I am attached to physical form, that's why I need the person, that's why I need the person. I have to transcend. That's my growth. That now I know that I really, really, really love the person. If I claim to love the person, the person is not physically there with me, okay? But see, if I now want to feel the person in each and every cell of my body, I can. There, nothing can stop you. So I think it's also like stepping one level up, because physical consciousness is the stony, rocky consciousness, that we are trapped in. Now you are going to a level vital consciousness, which is the one that grew after the rocky consciousness. First came stones, then came plants, full of feelings, alive with this vital consciousness. So you are going at that level of feeling. So it's actually a step up for me, that the moment I think of a person, I as if I'm with the person right now. So I think it's a very good stepping up for us, and we must practice that, because we are just too habituated to be physically connected, and that actually becomes at times a point of pleasure, but other times point of pain, because physical things keep on changing. you know and you're right that it, because we are so habituated to see the person in one way, that actually is so much cause of depression. One Dr. Sumitra Basu was sharing that when people shift houses in which they had been living for a long time, you don't even know you enter depression. Why? Because you were habituated. That house became a part of your being. Now that house is being taken away. Now you're moved to new house, and you just can't accept it. You enter into depression, that as if a part of your being has been taken away.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we just have to realize that we come back again and again to what Buddha shared. Attachment is the cause of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Life is not suffering, attachment is cause of suffering. And there is a way. to transcend the attachment. That's what we are all at.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one loss, if it has moved me so much and caused me so much suffering, of course. And I know there's so many others, right? Who I know I might go first, they might go before me and all. So again, I owe it to myself and to them. Okay, the first one went or somebody close to me went and I was too attached, right? And I just know the body. What do? I've always just related as the body. So it's even a preparation for me now. That now let me go beyond the body, right? Like so that it's like, they say that if you are too clinging or you're too crying, you're suffering too much for the person who's gone, even he can't go. So, we must choose our people because if they're too attached, they're too clinging, then also their cost of suffering during life, obviously, attachment you suffer. And after death, also, if somebody is too attached and they are just crying and grasping, that also causes you suffering. So, but I can't do anything about others, right? But I can work on myself. So now, knowing that I would be facing it so many more times, I could be facing it so many other times. Now, let me see, chakkar kya hai, right? How do I take this? How are you supposed to take? And if I'm just limited to the body, now let me explore it more. How does one relate to things beyond the body? Because just saying that, that's how I've always done it doesn't work after some time, right? Like we have to try and expand the way we have been doing things. And if we can't understand, we should pray. We should aspire. We should say it every day. This is important to me. Tell me, how do you do it? How does one do it? How do I do it? And ways are shown because sometimes these things are not able, one cannot communicate, right? And yet these are happening. And we know it, it's when we connect with them, we know, we feel that person, and other people who have gone before them, we know it doesn't end there. And yet, because that's how I have been seeing things. But then the only answer is then I change. Just because I've done something some way and I want to say that's how I want to continue, then the thing is no, why don't you also consider very drastically, like I do so many things with so much enthusiasm and activity, this also I must follow. That how are you supposed to take this thing? That also is a very curious and a very big twist, very big kind of a thing to learn, that ye kaise karte hain. Because just
Also,
saying is not, will not
it's
cut it.
like many a times we fear that earlier I was holding like this, and now you are asking me to throw away. So that day when I was, doing the work with my friend, there also I tried to share with her that earlier, right now, how I am habituated to live is like this, grasping all the people in my life. Now, why is there fear in me when I am doing this affirmation? Because it feels that I am doing like this, like throwing away the person from my life. I don't want to be attached. But I told her that there is also a middle way, which is like this, what Jisunma shares, that we have to hold our relationships like you hold water in your palm. So when we are trying to work with ourselves and our grasping, then what we are actually trying to come to is this situation, that there are relationships in life, there are people that I love. It's not that we stop loving people, but it's like we are holding them very gently. So we don't have to shun our relationships, we don't have to numb our emotions. Yet we are not grasping at them. Like, I don't want anything of them. So then she became very like relaxed, oh, I don't have to throw, because it felt as if she has to throw her mother away from her life, or some physically detachment, or stay away from her, so that I don't become too clingy or attachy. But that's not the thing. You can be with the person and yet be like this, gently holding the relationship. Like there is no grasping and clinging at all. And that's where, as Saru was sharing, that I do a benefit actually to myself and the other person, where there is no stickiness in the relationship. So it doesn't actually mean that you push away physical, kind of, okay, I have to be away from the physical. No, not like that. Being in the middle of everything and yet to be like this is the challenge. Because if I'm away, and then I claim that, oh, I am detached, the moment I get back with that person, I'm again very clingy. So that's the thing I have to test, my waters. Yeah. But I think both the things are necessary. Yeah.
Hmm.
We are all at it, Ritu. You're not alone. Really, really. We are all at it. No one has transcended attachment, but we all are learning and trying not to be clingy because we see that it harms. It harms us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are all such difficult things, like detachment, disenchantment, and like Jagan said, surrender.
Yeah.
I think surrender is also one of the most difficult things. No matter how much we try to surrender, we still hold on to something. We still feel that, yes, I can do something about it and it's in my control. And we tell ourselves, no, 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 let it go, let it go, let it go. It'll be taken care of. But somewhere or the other, I'm still into it
Yeah. Yeah.
without knowing.
Yeah. And I think this is the path, this because earth is for this growth, that growth can only be when there is first an imperfection, right? If all is anyway perfect, then there is no growth. So we all are here willfully for growth. Now, wherever there is growth, there has to be something where I need to learn more, I need to unlearn more, right? So that there has to be imperfections, there has to be ugliness. But I think slowly, as we work upon it, then we also feel the joy in little progresses that we make. And that's the fun of it, So taking it very lightly, not really making surrender or all these things a burden on my head, something to be done, on my to-do list. Taking it really one day at a time, very lightly and
Yeah.
joyfully. Yeah, yeah, yes.
I think stepping back, some whenever we can, a little bit at times from our thoughts, seeing them as a thought, not always just my thought, that third person you emotion similarly. I think that really helps in putting things in perspective, little by little, so that it doesn't rule me then, and then I'm able to actually see things for what they are and not just always, बस बहते रहो.
I think यहाँ पे ये बहुत जरूरी है ना. I'll not be able to step back if actually what I seek is not stepping back and seeing the truth, right? Because I have been there, what you are sharing, that there was a time when I did not want to step back. I was just too stubborn that this must happen my way. How dare it is not happening my way. It is only then I was beaten enough, through situations and circumstances, that I said, okay, I want to see what is the game about. So lead me towards truth. So if there is a little bit of, opening within, that now what I want to see is the truth and not my own stubbornness, which I was sticking to, I think then I can step back. So stepping back ke liye bhi, I feel that there is a willingness, no, from inside, that which is required. If I want my stubbornness to act out, then I can't step back. I'm too rigid that this is how I know how this should happen and this is how it should happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we'll end here today. And thank you for all the thoughts, the sharing. It's good sometimes to, read things, maybe something in us shifts, right? Like we don't have to convert, right? But if there's just a small opening that maybe there's another way that helps us. So thank you for all the active questioning and discussions. So we are always just about me, and we know that. So just taking some moments while we are ending to just wish and pray for peace and well-being for everybody. Everybody, anybody I might know, everybody I don't know, that may all beings be truly well, truly happy, and may they be able to, I don't know, find their true purpose and live a meaningful and a more joyous life. I pray and I offer any merit that I have, I don't know, got to everybody.